members of the OG Army. Get those wallets unfolded. Coming up next on the OtherGround live stage, prepare for an eargasm by Passive J and Big Dalton.
Well, good afternoon, and welcome to yet another edition of OtherGround Live. I'm Passive J. That's Big Dalton over there. Holy shit. Say hello, Ryan.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is July the 5th. It is a Sunday, and goddamn, pal, I feel like a car ran over me.
Well, it turns out that's because that's what happened. Well, viewers, let me get the formalities out of the way. I see the OG Army's forming up the chat box. Glad to have you guys here. Well, with all that out of the way, I'm glad to see you here too. Tell us your story, sir.
I mean, not much of a story. I had a normal 4th of July going on, grilled out, kind of hung out with the dogs, and then left to just run a couple quick errands, just pick a couple things up to continue the celebration into the evening. Took a left turn, and some idiot teenager ran a red light and T-boned my truck. So pretty much the back passenger side quarter panels completely just destroyed. Got to, spend the evening in the hospital because as a part of that wreck, luckily nothing ended up being broken, but my arms did go numb for a few minutes. So they wanted to, run some tests on my spine, which, it's not like I have any issues with to begin with.
Yeah, no. As it turns out, you have lots of issues with your spine. Jesus Christ, dude. First off, I'm glad that pending more testing, you're okay. Not, like you're not dead, because that was one of the things I started worrying about. We were hoping that you had just fallen asleep, or you were taking a shit, or fell asleep on the shitter, or something like that. But when I didn't hear from you by the next morning, I knew something was obviously up. My guess had been car problems and your poor cell phone coverage. So I was actually kind of right, just on the real mild side of it.
Yeah, that was super fucking fun. And the best part was,
mm-hmm.
part of that wreck, cell phone goes flying across the truck, ends up getting broken. So I had to go, and of course, hardly anything's open on a Sunday on a holiday weekend. So I just went and basically paid full price for a phone at a fucking Walmart that was open. So yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, and of course, the worst part about that is you had to go in a Walmart.
Yeah, that was not fucking cool.
Yeah, that's some bullshit, man. Obviously, your insurance is going to cover everything. Unfortunately, the thing is, not much is going to happen to that kid. Oh, yeah, a ticket for running a red light. That's about it. Yeah, it's not even that huge of a deal. I'm assuming, you think there'd be a lot more charges for that sort of thing, but from what I understand, not so much.
If nothing else, is his parents that apparently did not instill in him to be a good driver. At least their insurance is going to go through the fucking roof.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, you don't wreck out someone else's car. It probably didn't do his car any favors either, and have your insurance stay the same. What was he driving?
He was driving it was a Lexus something. Obviously, I'm in a halfway affluent area. But yeah, some little Lexus. It folded up like a goddamn pancake. I think he was okay. I didn't really give a damn if he was or not, but the fact is, you have a teenager on an insurance policy and they pay out and it includes bodily injury because obviously it'll be paying for an overnight hospital stay. Yeah, that's going to be a fucking nightmare.
Yeah. Speaking of insurance, I got a letter from Progressive, saying that I had to choose what kind of coverage I have because apparently they just changed that in Michigan. They said if you do nothing, you'll have stay at the 500,000, whatever coverage that you have now. However, you can reduce the amount of coverage you have, and basically for exactly what you're talking about, the bodily harm. Basically, if you have to cover someone else's medical insurance, they changed the law in Michigan that you can't have that you don't have to have like unlimited or whatever it is. You can reduce the amount. And I could reduce the amount quite a bit, and it would have taken like a good $60 or $70 off my monthly insurance. However, that didn't seem like a good idea.
No, everybody thinks that they're never going to have anything happen, but when you do not have enough insurance, you're pretty much fucked.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured, because you can have something be your fault through no fault of your own, so to speak. There's lots of cases where someone, now obviously in this guy's case, he is completely his fault. But you never know when you're gonna fucking be distracted or some shit like that. He was probably doing something stupid, but it's possible to have that happen through no fault of your own. Your fucking kid's next to you, he drops something, he drops a flaming fucking something or another. There's all kinds of shit that can go down in a car that can distract you momentarily without it being your fault. But if that happens and you cream somebody, dude, you better have the fucking right insurance.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. So like I have a combined single limit of $1 million. I have $1 million umbrella policy that covers up and above on both like a car insurance policy and a home insurance policy. Like I'm just not going to take any chances with that shit because I don't want some crazy thing that happens that you may or may not totally be at fault for to just ruin you financially. It just doesn't seem like a good call.
I wish I would have like paid more attention to it because as soon as I saw what it was talking about, it said you do not have to sign this document if you want to not change anything. I was like, okay, I don't want to change anything, but I kind of wish I was would have paid better attention so we could talk about it more because it was interesting, like the breakdown on it. Well, maybe let me back in again. Let me see.
I don't think anybody wants to hear insurance talk for very long, okay?
No, not for very long. I just thought, I just changed my password. Never mind. I'm not going to try to get back into it again. But it was just some interesting numbers. It wouldn't take too long, but I changed my password on it when I was doing something and I can't remember what it was, so we're not going to fuck with it. How was your hospital stay?
That is pain in the ass. I mean, is a hospital stay ever fun?
Well, yes and no, but I was more referring to your quality of your hospital stay because I've been at a couple different ones, and that can vary greatly depending on where you're at.
Oh, it was a nice place. They treated me great. Like I have very good insurance, which would make sense because I work for an insurance company. But
you would think, yeah,
I got wheeled in there. Of course, they start out with X-rays to make sure that like I didn't actually break my back, which would have been bad. So nothing broken. Then they did the MRI. I got the results early this morning that, my fucking discs are still completely destroyed from like C7 to what, T2 or T3. Like that entire section is just pretty much fucked up discs. So as always, it'll say, we will recommend surgery, and I say no, and they let me go home.
Oh, they were gonna hook you up right there if you'd said yes, huh?
Well, no, they wouldn't have immediately done the surgery. It's like they would have gotten my specialist and gotten it scheduled and everything else. Like I could have really, if I wanted to work the system and I wanted a free goddamn surgery, I could have gotten it out of this.
Right.
But
you didn't want the surgery in the first place.
There's no goddamn way I'm doing surgery.
Yeah. So I don't blame you. Surgery sucks. I don't know. I guess there are worse things than surgery. When I was going through the entire cancer thing, part of me was grateful, even though it almost killed me, that the procedure was just yanking something out of your body, as opposed to like months and months of chemotherapy and radiation treatment and shit like that, making you sick for long periods of time. Afterwards, I realized that that's not necessarily true since I was fucked up for more than a year. But it was a different sort of fucked up than getting chemo and radiation. So I guess both of them suck. But I was going to say there are such things worse than surgery, and overall, probably the chemo is worse than what I had to go through, if I had to guess.
Yeah, it's the thing with me is like there's two things I don't really trust surgery on. I don't want something poke around with my spine or my brain.
Yeah,
like those are the ones that I would put off as much as humanly possible, unless there was something going on that was going to kill me. Then yes, go ahead and operate. But like, other than those two things, like when they eventually tell me, "Hey, you probably need a new hip," I'll be like, "Okay, replace that motherfucker."
Right. Those seem like that's the sort of part. If they fuck it up, as much as it sucks, they can go back and fucking do it again. You don't get to make mistakes and stuff like the spine and the brain and various things like that.
Yeah, like I went through a couple minutes of not it was weird. It's like my arms went numb. I could still like move them. There was just no like real sensation of anything going on.
Right.
So like I could almost kind of feel what it would be like to not have that anymore. And like, I don't want someone poking around my spine.
Yeah, and it can be way worse than just loss of like tactile feeling, tactile feeling. Yeah, I think that's right. They fuck it up bad enough, and you just lose the you just lose the use of them entirely.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not. Yeah, I don't want to even put that on the table.
Yeah, there are variations of how things can suck. It can always be worse, apparently. But so I'm glad that you're okay, relatively speaking. I'm assuming like within a week or two, you'll probably feel better from your bumps and bruises.
Well, I'm just getting to the point now where everything's really starting to hurt.
Oh, geez.
So it's going to be fun, like sleeping this week. But yeah, so we'll see how all that goes. But yeah, it shouldn't be too bad.
For it?
I mean, they offered painkillers, but again, like painkillers don't work on me up until you start talking about Oxy, and I'm not going to take that.
Right.
So it's just like, no, I'm good. They're like, you sure? Like, we can prescribe you like Vicodin or something like that. I'm like, that shit doesn't work on me, so no.
Well, not if you take a whole shitload of it, huh?
No, then I just, call the doctor and say, hey, I've taken like 7 Vicodin, they're not working, and they're like, you might want to just like go pump your stomach.
Well, yeah, I guess that's I guess you can only take so many of them before it's dangerous. Well, that sucks for you, sir. Hopefully you're already having sleeping problems anyways. God, I'm having speaking problems today, more so than normal. But so with your additional bumps and bruises, I guess it is going to be... Oh, how's your back, by the way?
Well, obviously fucking terrible now.
I meant like the previous issue you were dealing with.
Well, like I said, absolutely worse now. Like, it was starting to come around. I was starting to get, a few hours of sleep at night and was able to, like, try to get, like, at least an hour or two nap in at some point and be fine. But, yeah, this is going to be an interesting few days because that shit does not feel good.
Oh, well, that sucks, man. So, obviously, you won't be lifting weights for a few days, I imagine.
I was only getting back to doing some simple dumbbell stuff as it was.
Yeah, well, Jesus. And I hate that shit. There's nothing worse than working so hard to, achieve your goals and then have to quit through not your own decision. I've had that happen a few times, obviously. And it's very frustrating, for me, the additional problem with that is I'm a creature of habit. I like to do the same things at the same time every day, and so on and so forth. I need a schedule. I'm super duper lazy, but if I can force myself to get into something past a couple weeks to make it part of my routine, I feel weird if I don't do it. So that on top of the frustration of losing your gains always fucking drove me up a wall when I couldn't work out for like an extended period of time.
Yeah, that shit just pisses me off. That's why even like when I was kind of laid up and couldn't do like normal lifting, I was still sitting there doing, somewhere around like, 300 reps with like a 20-pound dumbbell throughout the day of like lat raises and shit like that. Simple stuff I could do without having to really move. Right. I'll probably be doing that again.
All right. Anything you can do without activating the back muscles, basically.
Pretty much, while still trying to keep everything around it like relatively stretched and strong. Because nothing's worse than like to have the stuff that's holding you together anyway start to atrophy, and you're just an old broken person.
Yeah. And that's sad because I see old broken people at my work all the time. People that because they're rich, not necessarily super out of shape people or things like that, but as they got older, they didn't like do any of the maintenance that you need to do to keep yourself in shape. They just kept on doing whatever they were doing. And it's pretty obvious when they reach the point where their body is just not working for them anymore.
Yeah, and to Juicer, no, I'm not getting a truck upgrade. Like, for what they'll actually give me to total it out, I'll probably... Like, I could, buy something nicer and put some additional money in, but, like, I might just wait a while. Just kind of see what's going on. I didn't really drive that truck a ton anyway, but I guess it was a good thing I was driving it yesterday. And Slide, no, my back injuries are not new at all. So from my C7 to like T2 or T3, I never remember how far it goes. Like, I have severe herniation in each of those discs, and it's all to one side. And I fucked that up doing jiu-jitsu like years ago. And it got a little better, and then I would do something that got way worse. Then it would get a little better, and then it would get worse. But then I went and I did some stem cell treatment and some other shit like that. And like, it was pretty goddamn good until just recently I kind of tweaked it a little bit. It hasn't been that terrible. Like, it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be, even right now where I feel like shit. So it's still, I'd say, I'm still probably about 75% better than I was when I was really dealing with it.
Yeesh. Sorry, I'm smoking pot. Don't tell anybody. And injuries in general just suck. I mean, fuck. I haven't had to deal with that many bad ones, really. I've been lucky in that way. I don't count stuff like stabbings and shit like that as major injuries because, you know, they didn't kill me. But I've never, like, I don't think I've ever broken a major bone. I've had my nose broken a whole bunch of times, and I suspect I probably broke my toes at various points. But I've never, like, had a broken arm or a broken leg or anything like that. No serious stuff, really.
Yeah, I've definitely broken nose several times. Broken my right hand a couple times. Blew out my left knee. Had a small shoulder surgery, something to do with some fucking tendon or joint or something in there. And then obviously the spine.
Yeah. Well,
and broken ribs. I forgot about the broken ribs. Those were the worst thing ever.
Yeah, I can imagine. I tell people there was one advantage to being lazy and unathletic. I made it to my mid-40s relatively unscathed. Like, everyone I know has, like, you have your issues with your spine. I know tons of people that have issues with their knee or their shoulder or this or that. And when you ask them about it, it's like, oh, I did this way back when, and, you know, now it's fucked up all the time. I'm like, well, I never did anything way back when. So I'm actually in way better shape physically than a lot of people I know.
Yeah, but they also had all those, you know, life experiences of doing awesome things and being in great shape and, you know, pulling 8s and 9s. Whereas, you know, you were kind of a nerd.
I'm perfectly happy now, so I ended up with a... Yeah, that's true.
So it's a balancing act.
How the tables have turned. I have pulled... Yeah, it's well, I pulled a wife way above my pay grade. Anyone who's ever seen the pictures knows that. So I feel like I'm winning in that regard. So, and now I'm in better shape than most of the people I know. So maybe it was worth it, never having any ladies in the back of the day and being unathletic and lazy as fuck. I mean, now I'm winning, right? Right? Someone tell me I'm winning.
Well, as long as you don't puss out and fail out of doing the rest of my programming, you make it through that 6 months. Like, you're at that point, you're going to feel pretty good. And if you want, you can literally just start back on day 1 again. So it'll be long enough that all that stuff's going to help again. And I would say probably by 2 times through, you will figure out how to start programming for yourself. You'll be able to look at it and be like, okay, I want to structure these blocks. The blocks are generally a month long. I want to work on this, and then I want to move to that. The key, though, is anytime you're going to do programming, set up at least 6 months for yourself. Don't do that shit week by week or month by month, because that's what fucks people up.
Because then they tend to lose track of how they should have it set up, I would imagine.
Well, it's not even that. It's just they either start doing the same thing all the time, or like they see one lift starting to go up, so they start just loading in things that are gonna help that one lift, and then all of a sudden they start losing the gains they had from other things. Sometimes they just completely change things up, like week to week, and then that gets rid of the entire reason of me having you do like one type of thing for a month at a time. So it's just things you'll learn.
I understand it. And I'm actually fairly excited about the my appointment in August with the endocrinologist, because I'm hoping, if nothing else, if he is able to help me out with things like that, that will increase my appetite, among other things. Because really, that's one of the biggest problems I have. I'm just not hungry enough to put enough calories into me. And as much as I try to force myself, you can only do so much, you know. Combine that with the fact I can't eat that much, that makes it a little bit harder. But that's not the main problem, really. I'd like to blame my IBS problems, but the biggest problem is I'm never really hungry. You know, part of that's having a stomach ache. It's hard to try to eat something if your stomach hurts. But even on the best of times, I have to remind myself to eat shit. It's just not part of my brain, I guess. I mean, like, I'll get super hungry. Don't get me wrong. I was goddamn ridiculously hungry on my way to home from work. But once I ate something, I was fine. And realistically speaking, it was probably way less than I needed to eat.
Well, if nothing else, so you're going to go and you're going to end up being horse meat Jay. And you're going to start seeing some like actual like gains that are come pretty quickly. and you're going to realize like you have to eat to keep that sort of thing going. So even if you don't
Right.
want to eat, if you still aren't like driven to eat, like some part of your brain is going to be like, okay, well, I like seeing the gains I'm getting when I'm working out. I'm going to have to force myself to fucking eat.
Right, right, and which is what I'm trying to do now, because as we mentioned, even though I haven't gained any weight, I'm definitely seeing improvements after this is like week 7 or something like that. So I'm definitely happy with the results, such as they are. So I'm just hoping, but obviously that part of my brain doesn't do that. I know that I need to eat way more than I'm eating. It just doesn't happen. I mean, it's not. I know it's hard to explain. I realize it sounds fucking silly that just eat more, but I can't. Fucking, I only eat so much, and I can't put any more in me. It's just it's a weird fucking thing. I don't know if it's a willpower thing. Some things I have really good willpower on, uh, but this I just can't make myself eat after a certain point.
Well, if you want to actually gain some muscle, you're going to have to.
Yeah, I know.
So whether
it's
that
something I'm working
means
on.
finding like carrying around a bottle of fucking peanut butter or making those peanut butter balls I told you about, or fucking hauling around a gallon of lactose-free milk, something to where
Yeah.
you're just pounding fucking calories, even if it doesn't seem like you're eating much, like just adding shit to it. Have you figured out, can you have MCT oil?
I don't know. I didn't think to look that up. I think we talked about that a while ago. I kind of forgot. Let's look. Is MCT oil?
Yes. And if it's something you can have, you should get a bottle of that shit and basically add like a tablespoon or so to virtually everything you ever touch.
Because of the unique absorption of MCTs, they have been used to reduce intestinal irritation in patients with irritable bowel system. Oh my.
So it might actually be good for you, not just okay.
Yeah. That is interesting. Yeah, I'd have to read the entire thing. It's an article that says, is MCT oil a miracle supplement or just another fad? But Google gives you a little tiny, like a one paragraph from the article to see if you're interested in that. And that's what the one paragraph was. And that's from foodandnutrition.org. So I guess that's probably a reputable source. So I'll look into that
Reputable?
more. That's the only thing about the oil. Yeah, that's what I said. But I'll look into that because apparently it might be good for me.
Yeah, if it's actually good for you, like it is, like it's very calorie dense. It's going to add fat, like healthy fat, like things that you need. So yeah, with that, if you can have it, like literally every time that you go to eat something, or even when you drink your coffee, add a fucking tablespoon of that. That'll add up throughout the day.
Right. That sounds gross, but I'll give it a try.
Well, you just add it and mix it in. Like it doesn't have much flavor to it.
Oh, okay.
It's just adding a little oil.
Right. Well,
so like if you add it to the coffee as you're drinking the coffee,
right.
Be sure to stir it up before you take a drink.
Right.
Otherwise, you might just be drinking straight MCT oil because at some point it's going to separate from the water. But
yeah,
come on now.
Yeah, I was talking with my boss about all this stuff, and he's the general manager at a country club, so he's like the top guy. But in addition to that, as one of the ways he worked his way up through the country club career was starting off as a chef. So he still cooks at home, and he knows about that sort of shit. And he was asking me what kind of things I can have and I can't have. And I ended up printing up a sheet for him before I went to lunch because he covers my lunches for me. So I come back and he's going, oh, there's all kinds of stuff you can eat. He's pointing out all this stuff. He's like, unfortunately, when he says there's all kinds of stuff that I can eat, it's if I made it myself. There's all kinds of stuff I can eat if I know what all the ingredients are. Like he was talking about, having spaghetti or things like that. And because he pointed out that I can have tomatoes. I'm like, yeah, I can have tomatoes. I can't have anything fucking else that you're going to find in like a tomato sauce or a pizza sauce or anything like that. Because apparently there's lots of garlics and other spices that I can't have. But being a chef, he's like, oh, you just do this and this and this. You don't need to put that in there. I'm like, oh, Jesus, I appreciate the thought, but you got the wrong guy.
Yeah, if it doesn't come in Chef Boyardee, then you don't know how to make it.
Well, no, it's not that I don't know how to make it. I barely have the fucking time to take a shit this time of year. I don't really have time to sit down and like make like a meal like that. We're looking, sit down and make your own sauce and shit for the spaghetti. I'm not that type of guy even when I have time, really, but now it's just not realistic.
Well, no, that's where you take your day off and you set aside like 3 hours for food prep. And by making spaghetti, you basically make spaghetti for the week.
That is true, actually.
And then you just have it.
Right. Sly's asking about protein shakes and bars. I can't have most of them because most of them have something called whey concentrate, and that's not good for Jays at all. I can have whey isolates, but that's a lot rarer. So there's more protein powders than I can have than protein bars of that nature. As I just have to do research and get the ones that I want. But if I need something of that nature, I have those Huel drinks. Because those are healthier for you and have a more balanced sort of thing than like the protein drinks. I have found exactly one protein bar that I can eat that's even semi-acceptable. They're called No Cow. They're non-dairy vegan protein bars.
That sounds fucking disgusting. But yeah, regardless, protein shakes and bars are the absolute last-ditch effort that you should only have if you can't find real food.
Right, exactly. And that's what I use the Huel for, is to supplement my thing. But when I do use it, I try to get as much as I can. Like if I have a Huel shake, I don't do one serving, I do 2 servings. So it's like 800 fucking calories. And supposedly all the stuff you need for 800 calories worth of food, like the fiber and protein and vitamins and minerals. And it does have fiber, I can tell you that much, because that's how I found out that I wasn't getting enough fiber by far, even with taking like a Metamucil, because that shit changed my bathroom habits quite a bit. Pretty good way, but it was.
You know what has all the fiber in the world?
What's that?
Fucking daily goddamn kale and vegetable smoothie.
Ooh.
They're terrible. Like, you just fucking down those things, but I guarantee within 40 minutes of having one of those, your intestines are going to be spotless.
Yeah, this Huel's pretty good for that. It was horrible for my wife the first couple days that I drank it, because it took my body getting used to that kind of fiber. So I became super duper fucking gassy. I thought at one point my wife was gonna fucking divorce me. She was severely upset about it. I'm like, what do you want me to do about it? We'll go outside. Like, you're complaining because I'm farting in the middle of the night. I can't. I'm doing it in my sleep. It's not like I can wake up in the middle of the night and run outside to fart. That's not a realistic demand.
I don't know if it would have kept going on. All of a sudden, we would have got a post on the OG about how you've bought this awesome fucking tent from Walmart and you're using it. You're camping out until you can get your stomach right.
Yeah, it was pretty close. She was really upset. She seemed to think I did it on purpose or something, almost. So, but now I'm back to my normal level of flatulence, which, by the way, isn't great anyways. Apparently, you never know how much you fart until you live with a woman.
That's why you just keep dogs around so you can blame them.
Yeah, our dogs don't have problems with that. Strangely enough, I guess they're not big enough to produce that much gas. They are little tiny fuckers.
Well, that's why your next dog, you just got to get a bulldog, and then you're fine.
I want one of those, actually. I want one of the English bulldogs. I think they're awesome looking. The only reason we never got one is because when we were looking for a pet, was one, they're really fucking expensive, and two, apparently most of them have a lot of health issues, and I don't really want to deal with that with a dog. I want a healthy dog, not one I'm taking to the vet all the time and worrying about, and the one that dies early because it has fucked up. And apparently, almost all the dogs with the flat faces have a lot of similar problems like that.
I don't know. So my last dog, before I got these two, was a French Bulldog Pug mix.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
She ended up being, probably 14, 15 years old before she passed. 0 health problems until right at the end, and she ended up getting a brain tumor, and I ended up having to put her down. But other than that, yeah, fucking healthy as a goddamn horse.
Wow. Yeah, because I guess some of them have breathing problems and such. But I'd love to get an English Bulldog if I was in the financial position to make sure I could take care of it if it had issues and buy one in the first place. Because they're fucking $4,000 or $5,000 for a purebred one. It's ridiculous. This
is why you just pay attention to local rescues and even looking at Craigslist and shit like that here and there. You're not going to get a purebred dog, but you're going to find something that looks like what you want anyway. Right. And instead of $5,000, you're going to end up spending, a couple hundred, whatever their fucking rehoming fees are.
Right. Project Zorgo, top team, said I wanted an old English bulldog, not an English bulldog. I don't know what the difference is. Is the old English bulldog the one that's with the flat face and like the jowls and the wrinkles and shit?
I think he just answered as an American
Okay,
dog
is
breed
the
recognized, blah,
dog breed
blah, 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 blah.
Oh, okay. Well, I still don't know what the difference is, and you can't post pictures, so I guess that's not. I'll have to check it out later. I remember Ron White. It was, I think, telling jokes about his English bulldog. He said he liked to like fucking hide M&Ms in his wrinkles while he was sleeping, so he'd wake up and just have one drop out. It looked like a big surprise treat. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, hilarious. Giving dogs chocolate. That son of a bitch.
What?
Cancel Ron White.
It might not have been M&M. It was something like that. It might have been a Skittle. Who knows? Ron White's actually pretty funny. I'm not normally a big fan of like, he was on the Redneck Comedy Tour, and I wasn't a huge fan of that. But of people on there, he's definitely the funniest. I'm not sure if you're familiar with his comedy. He's been around fucking forever.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit here and there. Never been a big Ron White fan.
Right. No, I liked him. I thought he was funny. He told a story about getting kicked out of a bar, and I'm not going to tell the entire story joke, but the line he had, well, he about there being 5 or 6 bouncers in the bar, and he said, I don't know how many they would need to kick me out because I'm a big boy, but I know how many they're going to use. So, and then getting kicked out of the bar and shit. It was a pretty good bit, actually.
Fair enough.
Yeah. All right. Did you have time to actually have any topics between all these ordeals, or do you want to go right to my shit?
Well, there's the one thing we absolutely have to talk about: the fact
What's that, sir?
The fact that Gilbert Burns tested positive for the COVID and is out of UFC 251.
Oh man, he kind of lucked into the fucking title shot in the first place, so he must be fucking bummed out.
He must, but you know who's happy and got his fucking money? Jorge Masvidal.
Yeah. Now, do you think he got? I'm sure he didn't get profit sharing, but he probably handed him a big enough check that he didn't, put up any more fuss about it, huh?
He gave him enough to fucking fly from Miami to Vegas today to get all of it worked out. So as long as he and Usman pass their fucking COVID test, they are off to Fight Island.
Do you think this is like a not rated shot for Masvidal? Do you think he should be the next in line? In a hypothetical situation where all of them were available to fight, who do you think should be fighting?
Like, I don't know. Like, maybe Burns because he just beat Woodley. Like, I don't really know where Masvidal fits in because he's never historically beaten like the super high tier like championship type fighters. But look at some of the guys he's just beaten, right? Like, he kicked the shit out of Cerrone. He fucking ended Ben Askren. And then he beat Diaz. Like, those are
Diaz doesn't impress me. Diaz doesn't impress me, really. It didn't seem like a much of a fight. It didn't even seem like Nate wanted to fight.
Oh, yeah, and Darren Till. He fucking baptized Till.
Huh.
Like,
yeah, and, the Cerrone thing, God. See, I mean, you could make arguments against all of that. Nate's on the wrong side of his career, as well as Cerrone, and Till is like fucking kind of still like on the early part of his career. So I don't think he's actually hit his potential yet. So yes, they're all good names, but all of them are fucking, not really super impressive wins is the way I'm looking at it.
Well, then who do you give the shot to? I mean, Gilbert Burns just beat Woodley, but like Woodley looked terrible in that fight. We did a fight companion for that. Woodley looked like he didn't even want to be there.
Yeah. I guess who else do you give it to, really? I'd have to look up the actual rankings to see. Well, let's go ahead and do that. Let's see. UFC here. Oh, goddamn. Really? This is what MMA World Rankings has this at. So let me load it up. Come on, sucker. Load it. And what I saw just surprised me. Obviously, Usman's number 1. Burns was number 2. Usman? Okay, yes, that guy too. But they have number 3 at Colby fucking Covington.
Well, I mean, he just fought Usman and had a pretty goddamn good showing. Like, that was a pretty close fight. So you can see why Covington's there. But I think probably the most fun fight you have there is Masvidal.
Yeah, you're right, because they consider him number 4 here anyways. And holy shit, did they got a super young picture of him on this site. Oh, well, you wouldn't even recognize him. And then they got Leon Edwards as 5, then Woodley. Conor McGregor is fucking 7 of all things.
Yeah, that's just fucking stupid is what that is.
Right. Yeah, Nate is 8, Pettis is 9, Michael Chiesa is 10. Yeah, you're right. Fucking who else is he gonna fight? Holy shit.
Yeah, so like I you know what? Jorge Masvidal is always talking about like going out there and baptizing dudes and like now looking at his beard and his hair. Like this guy might actually be Jesus. Think about it. Like he wanted all this money, he didn't get it, and then the guy that stepped in to fight for cheap just suddenly got a crazy virus. And then he's able to step in and get what he wanted in the first place.
Yeah, they do call him Street Jesus, from what I understand. So, yeah, it's crazy. It's weird how the fucking rankings and how opportunities work like that. It's not the first time that someone has jumped in on short notice and took advantage of his opportunity, so to speak.
Well, think of how crazy this one is. This is a fight in 6 days.
Yeah.
A championship fight in 6 days. And they're not even going to be able to fly out until those tests come back, which I think the earliest they could come back is like tomorrow or possibly Tuesday.
Right.
Like, so they're going to get there, and that's a long-ass fucking flight. So even if it gets back, tomorrow, even if they fly out, they're really not there till Tuesday, need to get acclimated, and by that time, they're already having to start their weight cut. Like, this is kind of a shitty week for both of them.
Yeah, and it's a shitty place to get acclimated to. I keep on seeing UFC things where they're building the fucking ring on the beach. I mean, I realize we talked about that. That's probably just like a photo op where they might do some of their open workouts or some shit like that. But their UFC is sure as fuck acting like that's where the fights are going to happen.
No, they're not. So there was a couple tweets that came out. I think it might have been from Dana or the UFC account. I don't remember which. But they started highlighting like a lot of the construction and shit that was going on there. And yeah, so this actual stadium that they're using, well, it's not even really much of a stadium. It's pretty much just kind of like this it almost looks like an airplane hangar almost, if you think about like one of those would look like. And then they're just kind of building it almost like the Apex, so the place where they've been having the fights in the UFC basement. It's almost kind of like that. Obviously not a place for a bunch of seatings. There's not going to be, tons of fans there. Really just your cage, all your cameras, and all the infrastructure you need there.
Oh, apparently I misspoke. It should be Street Judas, not Street Jesus. Thank you, Project Zorgo.
No, he's just calling him Judas. It was Street Jesus.
Oh, well, let's see. Shows what I know. Now, the only really important question I have about the entire setup over there is it air conditioned?
Oh, I guarantee it has to be. There's no way that you're having those fights in 100 and some degree weather.
They did it before.
Yeah, and it was the worst card of all time.
Yeah, do you think they learned their lessons? They're not going to try to pull that shit again?
I fucking hope so. Like, I don't know how much was the fucking weather, but like, yeah, that fight card sucked. And it was capped off by the absolute worst championship fight of all time. Anderson Silva versus Damian Maia.
Yeah, that sucks some ass. And it's hard to say that about an Anderson Silva fight. He was like the king as I was getting into MMA. So he was that unbeatable guy that just made everybody else look fucking silly. And of course, he'd had a couple weird fights before that point, but nothing like that fucking stinker.
Yeah, that was just it was god awful. So let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, no kidding, man. Oh, let's see. What else you got, sir?
In non-MMA news, did you cover this yesterday that Joey Chestnut won the hot dog eating contest again?
No, I did not. I thought I saw. Oh, someone else. I thought I saw a woman make a world record there. Is there a women's division? So they don't compete against the men.
I have no clue. But he went out and he won again.
I think he broke a record too. Didn't he eat like 75 fucking hot dogs?
Yep, 75. Broke his own record of 74 back in 2018.
Oh, well, last year was an off year for him, huh?
I don't know what the fuck happened last year. Yeah, I don't know.
Jesus, man. I don't. First off, it's the silliest fucking sport in the world. Competitive eating. That's just ridiculous. Uh, two, how the fuck do they do that? I mean, we just had a conversation about my lack of eating abilities, so these people seem like fucking freaks to me.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like, I would never actually watch a speed eating competition. However, if you ever want to go on a YouTube hole, pull up Matt Stoney, another competitive eater, and he just eats some ridiculous shit.
Have you ever seen the Chinese or Japanese chick that does this shit?
No.
Oh, and she eats ridiculous. She eats amounts that put these people to fucking shame. Apparently, she's got this weird stomach condition where she's always hungry, and she's rail thin. So I'm 90% certain she's puking all this shit up.
Well, you're talking the one that somebody did a thread on the OG.
Yep.
Where she just eats for a long time period.
Right.
She's like doesn't stop. Whereas Stoney does the crazy shit where he'll just like slam 5 large pizzas.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. She says she doesn't do competitive eating because she's not a fast eater. She just eats for long periods of time, and then just uses video photography to speed it up so we don't get bored watching her eat fucking chicken for 2 hours.
Yeah, I would rather watch Stoney go for like 10 or 15 minutes and, like I said, eat 5 pizzas or 100 Eggo waffles or a gallon of Jell-O or 350 packs of Pop Rocks.
Do people like that just like wander the country looking for those all-you-can-eat contests at different restaurants to wreck their fucking night?
I mean, it'd be a little ridiculous.
You see what I've seen.
Yeah, so like the stuff that Man vs. Food used to do, where these guys could just walk in and just like do 3 of them.
You don't have to pay. Yeah, that would be funny. Yeah, you can eat this 42-ounce steak plus 2 pounds of potatoes plus 3 pounds of coleslaw. You get it for free. And this guy whips out in 10 minutes and goes, "Well, can I get another one?"
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, like, the Stoney kid, he's just like this skinny little dude. It's crazy.
I wonder if he barely eats other than these challenges, or if he's puking that shit up. Because obviously, it's one of the two.
Well, I mean, I'm sure half the time he's probably puking after this anyway, just as any normal human would. But
right.
Other than that, I'm sure he just stays in shape and otherwise eats normally.
Yeah. Well, like I said, one of those things that I can't imagine why people would want to watch it. It's just fucking silly.
But it's a thing.
Speaking of watching shit, I know you had a busy day yesterday, but this broke early in the morning. Hold on a second. I put my little dog down. See, that's why I don't have you on the lap, because then you get all impatient and rustling around to be petted. Go on. Go put him out. Did you see that video where the car hit the protesters?
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay. I spoke about it with Sly last night, but if you want to cover it some more, I'd love to hear your opinion on it.
It's fucked up because that person had to go around where they had blocked that road off to even do that. So like this was, like I just don't know who does something like that.
Okay, and we talked about this yesterday. It might not have been a choice sort of thing. There is a curve in that road, and if he was going 70, comes around that curve, those vehicles didn't have any lights on them or anything like that. So it's dark. It's hard to see anyways. He spots the cars, and he's going 70 miles an hour and decides he cannot stop before he hits those cars. And so he just tried to go around them. Then as he goes around them, he sees the people standing there. And to give him credit, he tried to avoid hitting them by swerving to the left. He starts to drift his vehicle. He almost loses control, and then hits 2 more people that are in his way. Obviously, we don't know what his motivations or things like that were, but to me, it looked pretty fucking accidental.
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily buy that, but there's nothing that shows everything that was going on. Regardless, it sucks. So one of those people ended up dying. So that wasn't a thing that happened yesterday. I think that happened overnight, but
yeah.
But there's also the thing of why are you blocking a road at night?
Yeah, and this is one of the things we talked about. It turns out that they've been blocking, I think, not the same spot, but freeways for the last 19 nights in a row at night.
Why do it at night? So if you want to do your little protest and everything, and you want you want eyes on it and everything else. Do it in the middle of the fucking day. Find a place that's not going to like fuck up emergency vehicles. Like, do your thing. Like at night, you're kind of asking for trouble, right?
Right. Well, and this is one of the few times you and I have pretty strongly disagreed about something, because I think there's no reason for them to be out in the road. Yes, I can understand that they're trying to get eyes on their protest, but that's no excuse for blocking public throughways. They have no right to be there. They have no right to risk their own lives and force other people to, to possibly, risk their life. I just don't think it's right. I think they should find some other way to show their protesting. But as I mentioned the slide yesterday, the person who is responsible for this, I think, is whoever didn't let the police stop this fucking 19 fucking nights ago. So I assume the mayor. As far as I'm concerned, the mayor is fucking the one who's guilty of those people dying.
Yeah, there's a lot of people at fault there. People at fault for letting it continually happen. There's people at fault for doing this at night, which is super unsafe to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
There's the person that actually ran over people. Like, yeah, there's plenty of blame to go around.
Right. See, and like I said, this is all this is how it worked out. But if it was a case of, him coming around the corner and not being able to stop in time and all this stuff, so he honestly did his best to try to not cause an accident and hit people, he is the least at fault of all these guys. The only way I can consider him at fault is if that he saw the vehicles in time and was able to at least slow down, because he took that at fucking speed.
And
but
not
if he had the ability
to the chat, just real quick. Nonsense password. Yes, just talking about Seattle.
Yeah, and if he did have the ability, if he did see that vehicles and decided to take that thing at speed, that makes him at least partially responsible, because that would be fucking irresponsible at the very least. Even if you knew there was no cars, knew there was no people behind that, you shouldn't try to shoot that gap at fucking 70, which is pretty much what he did. That's kind of what makes me think that it was completely accidental, because if you're just going to go around the vehicles safely, you're not going to do that. And if he would have been going at a slower speed, going more safely, he probably would have seen those people way before in time to stop. So that's why all my hypothesis based around him not seeing the vehicles until it was almost too late.
Either that, or he's just a piece of shit and he was fully aware what he was doing.
Yeah,
could be that too.
If that's the case, yeah, it could be that too. But I don't know his motivations, and a lot of this will play out in the trial, really, because he's already been arrested and charged with shit, I think. So,
well, speaking of trials, did you hear the latest on Bill Cosby?
No, is there even more? What else could happen? He's already in jail for the rest of his life.
Well, he's been granted an appeal, and part of what they're trying to argue now is that systemic racism is one of the reasons that he apparently raped a bunch of people.
Oh, well, I think the only way that it really works is if they're only white people. That way he could claim he was trying to get reparations.
Yeah, it's actually more so they're trying to say like systemic racism is how he like doesn't get a fair trial and all this shit.
Oh.
When really he's just a piece of garbage, and he just kind of at this point needs to just not be living anymore.
Well, as we've spoke about this before,
he's like 140. Like, come on.
Yeah. Bill Cosby is one of the greatest disappointments in my entire life, but we talked about that before.
Yeah, your hero dad was a serial rapist.
Yeah. Fuck. That makes me so unhappy. But yeah, at this point, just give it up, Cosby. You're going to be in there for the rest of your life. Even if if they give you an appeal, you'll probably be dead before all the fucking legal proceedings are over. So I assume they're going to try and get him released while all this happens. So
I'm sure they'll try, but it's not going to happen. That's not how appeals work.
Not. Right. So yeah, it's unlikely he'll ever see the freedom again. And as much as I hate to say it, that's probably good.
Yeah, he should not be in public. Well, it's not like he's really going to be raping anybody anymore. You've seen that guy get around now. He is, like I said, 140. So come on now.
Yeah, and honestly, the fucking trial and shit aged that motherfucker. I know someone who met him just before like all this shit started, and in an airport and took pictures and shit. And Cosby looked fucking great then. Looked like he aged 50 years over the course of the trial.
Yeah, the stress of going to prison for the rest of your life will do that to you.
Imagine that.
So speaking of people that have overstayed their welcome, did you hear the results of the election in Russia this past week?
No, I didn't really realize there was a election. I had heard things that Putin was trying to put stuff in place to allow him to be like prime minister for a lot longer than what he's supposed to. But other than that, I do not know what's going on.
Yeah, so they had a week-long vote, and of course, everything he supported won. Big surprise there. But they included, his ability to seek 2 more terms as president. So he's just changed their constitution to do that. Other things that are in there, all former presidents will now also have immunity from any prosecution.
Oh shit, really?
Yep.
You slipped that in on them, huh?
Slipped that one in. They also slipped in the whole defining marriage as a union of man and woman. But no gay marriage in Russia. The rest of the world, I think, is at the point where it's fine. It's a big no in Russia.
I feel so bad for the Russian people. The head of housekeeping at my work is Russian. At one point, it was him, his Russian mom, and his half-Russian son. Oh, actually, completely Russian son, but his son was basically born in America. They were the entire housekeeping department, and Dmitry, that's the dude's name. He's a good dude, Russians are really interesting people. They have a very unique perspective on the world. There are certain things I notice about Russians is they'll break whatever fucking rule that they feel like breaking. Dmitry gets away with whatever the fuck he wants to do because he does an excellent job. And his bosses love him. He's been there even longer than me, so probably like 20 years or 25 years. And when I say he's head of housekeeping, he has other people do most of the cleaning. Although he does a big part of his job is moving around tables and setting shit up for parties and things like that, which you wouldn't think would be a housekeeping thing. But he's fucking very invaluable at it. You see, dude, fucking some of these tables are goddamn big, and he lugs them around fucking all day back and forth to spots. But he'll also fucking go in whatever entrance he feels like going in, not the employee entrance. Take like an hour-long break if he feels like taking a fucking hour-long break, and just various very Russian things.
Well, it's because in Russia, break takes you.
Yeah, yeah. But once again, really good worker and a great guy. It makes me feel bad that Russia is such a fucked up place. I'm assuming for most people, it's not a great place to live.
That's what I've heard from virtually every Russian I've talked to is like Russia is an absolute shithole, and like the people have no say in virtually anything. Like I have a friend at work, one of the developers. His name's Boris, which is funny because I think we covered 80% of Russian names with your Dmitry and my Boris. But yeah, he has nothing good to say about Russia either. He came over, I think, when he was like right around like 20, I think.
Yeah, I can see that. Oh, and Dimitri's son's name is Slavov, which is about as goddamn Russian as you can get, really. But it's funny. At one point when I first started working there, they had another Russian guy that wasn't related to him, probably friends with him that they met through like being Russian or some shit like that. And I bring him up because all of these people had what you would consider fucking good jobs in Russia. Dmitry was an EMT. His mom was a teacher. Ian was a fucking Air Force colonel. And all of them quit their fucking jobs in Russia and moved to America to like fucking scrub toilets and shit. That tells you how shitty Russia is.
Yeah, Russia's not a good place to be.
Yeah. So, and it's a big.
And yes, Homelander, by being Russian, didn't you know that they have little clubs and get-togethers?
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant. Not just because it's not like they walked down the street and saw each other and go, "You Russian?" Yes. Are you Russian? Yes. Oh, friend. No, I meant they probably because they both have families here and stuff. The Russian community can't be super big in fucking the Detroit area.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. It's Detroit.
Yeah, probably not. All right. Well, we covered that. One more thing. I got one more thing. If you want, and if you're out of shit. God,
I can obviously go an hour every day unless I'm in the hospital. So you feel free though. Okay, what you got, Jay?
Is Hong Kong just fucked now, dude?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's just amazing. For those who don't follow the news, apparently China passed a whole bunch of new laws allowing them to do whatever the fuck they want to do with Hong Kong. Before that, they had limited power there because of agreements between, because at one point the British owned that shit. And when they gave it back to China, apparently there was agreements set up to let Hong Kong at least control itself a little bit. You know, but which is why you're seeing the protests go on because China didn't really have the authority to go in and crack down like they'd wanted to. Well, now they do have the authority. They passed a whole bunch of laws saying that Hong Kong doesn't have any basically thing to say about shit, and it's all China now. I realize there's better ways to word that, but you guys know what I mean. I mean, shit, dude. There's democracy down there. Is that it?
Yeah, pretty much. I think other things going on. I know. I don't know if it's just England, but I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of countries. They're getting rid of extradition treaties with Hong Kong. So at least if anybody gets out of that fucking place, like China can't pull them back.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, other than that, it's completely fucked. Like the videos out of there are fucking terrible.
Oh, I haven't watched anything in the past day or two. I was kind of afraid to check that shit out. So yeah, it was immediate, huh?
Well, I mean, it was bad to start out with before they even passed all those laws. Like you would have protesters and like that Chinese police force gave no fucks.
Yeah, no, yeah. Surprisingly enough, for a country with such a humane reputation, China's kind of shitty to their own citizens.
Oh, did you see the big bust of China trying to export human hair?
Export? Oh, that's just gross.
Yeah, so there was there was like 60 tons or some ridiculous amount that ended up being seized, where they were sending like wigs and extensions and things like that contained human hair that apparently come from like prison camps and shit like that.
Oh snap! That's fucked up, dude. Hair is such a weird thing. I can touch a hair on my wife's head and then not bother me at all. But if you get that shit wet and put it at the bottom of the fucking tub, it's like the most disgusting thing fucking ever. I swear to God, I think you could probably rob a bank with like a spoon covered in wet hair. Give me all your fucking money. Oh, sure, here, dude. Just get that shit away from me.
You are such a fucking woman, Jay.
I'm just kidding, but it is weird how it is gross when it gets wet and it's not attached to somebody now.
Yeah, I don't necessarily. I'm not squeamish about that.
Well, we got like 2 minutes. You want to go ahead and call it a show, sir?
Well, we've got 2 minutes, so we gotta do something here. Tell us something, Jay.
Okay.
What's going on?
Not much.
Are you about to just reach your breaking point on anybody at work for folding receipts? Like, what's going on?
No, that problem actually got fixed. I was surprised. I spoke with her boss, which was like my bro, so I knew he'd say something to her. But he also said she might not fucking listen to me either. I'm like, oh, that's great. You're a great boss. I wish I worked for you. That'd be a lot. That's the attitude I'd like for my bosses. But on your side, that kind of sucks. But apparently she did listen because like the very next day, it looked like her chits were folded. But I didn't mess with them because there was shift change. She turned them in late, so it was someone else's problem. And the day after that, when she turned them in, they weren't folded at all. So I win, yay!
Wow, the small things, right, Jay?
It is, and it bothered me way more than it should because it was a really simple request. And the reason it upset me is because I knew that every fucking day when she turned in her chits, it was going to bum me out and make me upset. Because it's basically at this point I feel like she's like basically giving me the middle finger every time she turns in her chits, and I don't like that feeling. I don't want to be upset about that kind of shit. I like being mellow and happy with everybody. So I was really really happy when she just fucking turned in her chits without fucking folding that shit.
The receipts, Jay.
All right, I'm sorry. I forgot you guys aren't into the country club culture. Well, that did 2 minutes right there, motherfucker.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank the OG Army for showing up. We can't do the show without you. I saw a couple new faces. Hopefully we'll see you again. I want to thank my co-host Dalton. Stop getting in fucking car accidents, dude.
Yeah, I think I've been in 3 car accidents my entire life. I've not been at fault in any of them, but this one pissed me off worse than any other one.
Oh, I can imagine. You got anything left, sir?
Yeah, as usual, got a couple things. Number one, we are coming up on Fight Island. It is the week. Hopefully, Masvidal and Usman pass their tests so they can get flown out to fucking Abu Dhabi. And with that being said, we will be doing a fight companion. And Jay's going to stay on as long as he can stay awake.
I will show up for the normal time and see if I can't stay over a little bit. We shall see how it works out.
So we're going to do that shit. It's going to be on Saturday, so y'all better be here. Because I am not talking by myself for fucking 12 hours. That's just too goddamn much.
Oh, don't exaggerate. It's only going to be 6 or 7.
That's a good point. Still, I'm not going to be just sitting here talking by myself for 6 or 7 hours.
Yeah,
fucking hate
that's
people.
Rough. What else you got, sir?
Other than that, I think really the only thing left to say is fuck all y'all.
Everyone have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow at 6. Bye-bye.
Screw you, hippie!